You know when you meet someone and you very quickly realize you pretty much share a brain, you're always on the same page and essentially speak the same language, maybe just in a different font?
I'm Stephanie, and that was Holly, and we are those girlies. After sharing an experience in corporate America, and maybe some trauma bonding along the way, we really just want to yammer about the stuff that matters to us. Join us as we discuss navigating self-love and growth, marriage, sobriety, and the hamster wheels that are our brains. And welcome to Same Language, Different Font. Well, hi.
Hi, friends.
How
We're
are
here.
you?
I feel like I say we're here every time. It's the same excitement happens every episode that we had in episode 1. I'm like, we're here. We're still doing this.
I think it's the shock of like, yeah, we're still here. And
Holy crap, we're still
here. Wait a minute. We are here. And at this point in time, we have a live episode.
I feel like now you guys are just kind of recycling through all of my sweatshirts, though, with each of these. I just wear a different one. Like, we're just going through.
OG called me out on it.
Oh, no.
He was like, are you going to wear the same thing every time you guys record? I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
Rude.
It's all good.
It's all right. But, guys, we're here with episode 4, where we are, I think Steph touched on it last episode, that we're doing non-negotiables is going to be the main topic of this episode. But we had previously mentioned that we're going to start with doing some goal check-ins. So just really quickly wanted to check in on that. Steph, how are your goals going so far?
Yeah, I did my vision board. I created a vision board.
Yes!
And I should have it to show you guys, but it's on my wall right over there. I'm not going to hop up to go grab it. Lots of good stuff on the vision board. I felt amazing after I put it together, and it is so odd how literally seeing it every day as I'm walking out of my bedroom is like, it's just this subtle reminder every day.
It really helps.
You're working on it. You're doing it. And I think I've been doing it even more frequently than I was doing it before. Like, just for example, we were just talking about it before we started recording, just like praying. I just wanted to be much more intentional about having conversations with the big man and just really kind of making him my friend again, you know, there I go with the you-knows. Okay.
Starting strong. I'm waiting for the Taylor Swift reference too.
Wait. Are you ready? Hang on. So, the t-shirt I'm wearing today says, "Old habits die screaming." And before we really get into it, and I'm sorry, I'm dovetailing. This is just how my brain works, guys. I'm a squirrel brain. It is what it is. You know, I just can't help it, but we're going to backtrack just a bit. So the Grammys just happened. And OG is probably one of the biggest Beyonce fans I know. So shout out to OG, shout out to Beyonce for getting Album of the Year. It was her first win. Everybody's been really, really excited about it. However, that does mean that she beat out my girl, Miss Taylor, for Torture Poets Department. And so today is the shirt is kind of a double entendre. I don't know if that's right or not, but it sounds fancy, so I like it.
Sounds right.
Shout out to my girl Taylor for Torture Poets. It will be Album of the Year to me forever. One of my favorite albums that you put out, girlfriend. But also, Old Habits Die Screaming. And I do intend to speak about how putting non-negotiables in my life has helped me kill off those old habits. And they are certainly dying screaming. Anyways, getting back to goal check-ins. Vision board, going great. Also, practicing being intentional without getting overstimulated or, you know, just kind of chilling out. We had Miss B's 6th birthday this past weekend, and I didn't freak out once. I didn't get overwhelmed. She's the light. But I didn't freak out. I didn't, get overstimulated just with all of the things going on and just trying to remember all the mom things for myself and the kiddos and, everything else. And it was just a really magical weekend, really. And it just really, I think, just solidified to me and proved to me that being intentional and really doing the hard work with myself, it worked. And we had an amazing weekend. Oh,
that's awesome.
How about you?
And so you mentioned in another episode, I'm starting to lose track. I feel really confident whenever I'm like, in episode 2, we said this. They're starting to blur together, guys. I know we're only on episode 4, but you mentioned one, I think it was goal setting in the second episode, where you said start like saving those receipts of these moments where you do have those victories. So like remember that weekend and write it down. This is a weekend where I put into practice what I've been trying to build a habit on and be intentional about. And anyway, sorry, I'm geeking out about your win, but that's why we celebrate them together.
That's right. How about you?
My goal that I've been really trying to work on, there's a few that I want to put into practice this year, but the one that I'm really like focusing on to start is just waking up earlier. And that sounds like such an easy thing. Just set your alarm earlier, Holly, like get out of bed. I've been struggling with it for months, but I realized I was saying like I want to wake up earlier so that I can do my Devo, so that I can work out, so that I can do all of these other habits that I was trying to stack at one time, and it was just overwhelming me. So now I'm going to wake up earlier, and that's it. Like that's it. Whatever I decide to do, I decide to do. If I want to be productive or not, at least I'm waking up earlier and building that one habit. And it's actually been going really, really well. I started with just making sure I was out of bed by 7:30, and then the next week making sure I'm out of bed by 7, and just slowly, and it's working. It's actually going really, really well. And some mornings I'm super productive and some I'm not at all. But I am up out of bed by 7 a.m. So we're keeping it going. We're going strong.
That's it. But you found like the thing. You found the thing that was keeping you from trying to take a step forward on that goal. You found the thing, you tweaked it, and then voila, look at that.
Here we go.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? You know?
Also, I love how I mentioned vision boards too. I was like, I think that you would really like this. It has that object permanence that you talked about. And then I made one. Like I was like, Stephanie, you seem creative enough to do this. I don't have it in me. I don't really like vision boards. I'm pretty sure I said that verbatim. And then I went and not only made one for me personally, I made one for work for myself, and then I made one for everybody on my team. Like I really just kind of had a vision board day and made them, because I thought it was going to be like a 13 going on 30 where she makes that big presentation at the end with all of the magazine cutouts. That's like what I envisioned. Canva is a girl's or boy's best friend. If you want to make a vision board, just 10 out of 10. Shout out to Canva for making that so easy. It took me about 10 minutes.
No, for real. And it genuinely does. It took no time at all. And it was, I did mine on Canva as well after you had given the recommendation. So
it's great.
It really is. And it worked. And it was easy to put together, easy to print, hang up, and it's been working, I think. I don't know. We'll check back in. I definitely intend to check in at the end of the year, do a full year of it all. And I just think that that's so cool. And it's the first time that I'll be able to participate in that type of like trend. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited for you to do that at the end of the year. But listeners, let us know how your goals are going too. Quick check-ins with you guys. Comment on this episode or just send us a direct message on Insta. We want to know.
Yes, we do. And we want to be able to share it.
Yes, please. I want to share it again with your permission. But segueing into the topic at hand, non-negotiables.
This is all very new to me, and something that I'm realizing. You know, these are the things that I have to be doing in order to stay on track. So the definition that I got was the core values or standards that you refuse to compromise on. And that for me smacked, because for me, my non-negotiables right now are things that now even my family knows, like mom needs this. Mom, you know, this is something that's incredibly important to her. And if she doesn't do it, she gets cranky or whatever the case may be.
Cranky mom comes out.
I'm just going to be completely honest. If I've missed the gym or moving my body for 2 days in a row or something, I can tell. And so can my family. And then the boundary definition of boundaries that I found, and this one has been really, really tough for me, because for me, when I originally started thinking about boundaries, I was thinking of them as things that I put into place, for myself toward other people. But the definition that I found is it's the rules that you set for others to protect your well-being and energy. So not necessarily like this is your boundary and your rule for me or something along those lines, but trying to think of like a specific, we're in a conversation and the person that you're in a conversation with really starts to spiral and get really negative about things, you know, or starts, for me, like bad mouthing other people or
Mhm.
something along those lines. The rule that I set for that person is this is not a conversation that I'm going to engage in, and I'm going to
Yes.
remove
Yeah.
myself from I'm not going to breathe life into it. Something
Mhm.
along those lines. But I think that the two and two absolutely like coincide, and like it's hard to have one without the other, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does. And I think that they go both ways where it's like boundaries you set with others to protect yourself, and also, at least for me, because I'm only going to speak to what I know, and I mean I can also kind of speak to you just because I know you so well and we
Yeah.
are very similar, same language, but
Right.
it's setting boundaries with yourself for yourself. So because we're people pleasers and we're twos, we have to set those boundaries with ourselves for our own protection. And one that like I really have been trying to put into place the past couple of years that has been a really uncomfortable change for not just me but the people around me is knowing when to say no, and when I don't
Mm-hmm.
have it in me to help other people. That's been really a shift, and
Mm-hmm.
it gets easier. I promise it does get easier, and people will thank you for it because it puts it into their brain too, of when you explain it, like, I am going to be completely honest, like I'm praying for you, but I don't have it in me right now to give what you need, and my cup is empty right now. I can't pour into yours at the moment. And
Mm-hmm.
letting them know that they're on your mind, you'll check in with them when you can. And that's something that I also try to take into account when I do reach out to other people. Like, for example, when I reach out to Steph sometimes and I'll say, hey, I've got something heavy that I need to get off my chest. Do you have it in you to take that on with me? Or like, how are you doing today mentally, emotionally, to be able to have
Mm-hmm.
that conversation? And we talked about this the other day. Sometimes that doesn't happen because sometimes it just comes out like word vomit. But
Yeah.
I do really try to ask and take how other people are doing into account before putting more on them. But that's a boundary that like I've had to set for myself to protect myself, is not giving more than what I have and then not taking care of myself because I'm too busy taking care of other people.
Absolutely. I mean, no is a full sentence, and it can be very awkward and hard and difficult. And especially if it's somebody I find for me boundary setting with the people that have known us the longest, and the
Mm-hmm.
the people that we love the most can be the most difficult. And I found an Instagram video, just like in my research and things like this. This is the first time I've ever done this, so maybe there's a better way to do this. And listeners, if you know of a better way to share an Instagram video, like while you're like on a pod, like recording a podcast, please let us know. But this is just the realness of me not quite knowing. But I really like this video, and I think it's very relevant, especially to this exact moment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The realness. Instagram reels. Sorry. I had to. I had to. It would have just kept going in my head. I'm sorry.
We're 15 minutes down the road, and then she just comes back with. Oh, listen. Oh, we're getting silly
My
with it, and
sister's gonna like that one. I'm really
we're getting
excited.
comfortable with you guys, listeners. Now we're not so. And these are the points we will be discussing today. Ooh, we're
That was
having
a
fun
good
with
one.
it. Anyways, okay, so it's Miss Kiki Palmer, and she's I love her so much, but I'm hoping that this works. She's on the Drew Barrymore show, and they are discussing boundaries, and I just think that this perfectly like sums up what I would try to say. So we're gonna let Kiki do it. Let's see.
A lot of habits of people pleasing. And there's a lot of habits of like, when you love people, it's hard to tell them no. And it's hard to tell them when they're showing bad behavior because you love them and you know they're a good person, but they're not showing up as a good person, right? Now, I've always been the kind of person that's like, I believe the good in people. And it's like, well, just because I believe the good in you, it doesn't mean that you believe the good in yourself. So then what am I then left with? Now I'm the person that's got to make the tough decision to leave you behind. And I think when you leave people behind, sometimes they stay behind. But the really, really beautiful thing when you make boundaries with the people that you love is you give them a chance to show up for you instead of you always showing up for them. A lot of habits.
Welcome to the
I
Kiki
have-
Palmer show.
I
Holy
literally
cow.
have goosebumps. Like I had goosebumps the first time I listened to it because this is something that I've had to do in my life recently. Like I'll be completely transparent. I'm not going to share who this person is to me or anything like that because I want to have complete respect for who they are and what the, you know, the
100%.
journey that they are on, but they're no longer in my life anymore. And it was 3 years of slowly ending conversations abruptly. It was 3 years of not answering phone calls because I knew what the phone call was going to entail. The same thing that you said, I knew that I did not have it in my cup to offer anything to this person. And it also stemmed from me pouring into this person for years and years and always being available and always being there and always being the shoulder to cry on. And at some point I realized that I was making myself sick over it, and just the relationship was it was never going to be repaired unless I made the full break. It's just like when I sprained my ankle when I was in 10th grade and playing softball, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, Stephanie, you would have been better off breaking your ankle because the way that this sprain is going to heal, it may hurt you forever. Well, dadgummit, if I sit Indian style for something too long now, the ankle still hurts. So it's the same thing.
Crisscross applesauce.
I can't do it, and I'm only 33. Anyways, but basically, it was never going to be something that medicine or any type of medicine was going to heal the relationship. It was either going to be a full break or, you know, and so it was a full break. And just like Kiki says, sometimes you leave that person behind and they stay behind, and then sometimes they come back and they show up for you. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm praying hard about it. And that's all I can do.
It's never too late.
No, it's never too late. And when I set that boundary, it was the first time that I was able to actually forgive that person.
Ooh.
And get and forgive that person for just being who they are and going through and navigating their life and their journey in their own way. I forgive you for that and for how the relationship changed, but I release it, and I just can't hold it anymore, and I feel better, and that was hard for me. I didn't want to feel better after. I
feel selfish or like guilty to feel better about things like that, especially as like twos and I don't want to say like as women necessarily, but like, it's kind of ingrained that you're supposed to take care of other people. But I think, it's really coming into society more of it is okay to make those breaks, those healthy breaks. And again, you never know if it's forever, but it's for right now, because that is what we need right now. And I think really the question that comes into play when considering that, if this is somebody that maybe you need to leave behind or at least separate distance from a little bit, is are they pouring into your cup at all, or are they just taking from your cup? If it's just solely them just taking and taking and taking and not really giving anything back, that's to me is when you should really start considering like, okay, maybe this is somebody that I need to distance from until they get to a place where they can. And I'm not saying like people will go through chapters and seasons where they just really need you to be there for them. It's like a hard season that they're going through, and that is completely different. That's not what we're referring to here. This is if this is their MO constantly, no matter if they're good, bad, sad, mad, if they are just constantly taking, that might be a consideration to take into.
Oh, and one thing that I had to learn for myself was nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save me. Somebody is. Sorry. Excuse me. Big guy. Please do not smite me down where I sit. Holy smokes. He already did. He came, did it, and now he's still there ready to do it. Anyways, that's not what I mean. It's just when you've fed into this person and tried, and this is what you can do, and this is what you can try, and it's not always going to be this way, and we're here for you and everything else, but it's still just daggone the doom and gloom. It just never goes away. It's like, okay, all right. I gave it my all. Now I give it to Big Man, and that's that. And that's okay. Yep. That is completely fine. And that's become one of my like non-negotiables. It's that core value to me, and that standard that I refuse to compromise on with the people that I devote my time too, because time is time is very important, and it passes.
That's why we got that grocery pickup. That's why we utilize that grocery
we got things
pickup.
to do. We got growing to do out here. Anyways, I think defining non-negotiables, I think that was when doing my research and preparing for this episode, I think that was really where I started to have like my aha moments, like, oh, I do have non-negotiables more than just going to the gym, taking my multivitamin. And they're things that have been non-negotiable to me for a really long time. And I just guess I just didn't even realize it. And one of the big things for me, and one of the things that I am most proud of, is the non-negotiables that my husband and I set with each other when we first met and first started our relationship. And that was that we had both come from places of or relationships where disrespect was tolerated, name calling was tolerated, hooting and hollering was tolerated. And him and I set a non-negotiable at the very beginning that we are not going to scream and holler at each other, and we are not going to name call each other, because the words that we say, they linger and they stick in our bodies, and you will never forget them. You can forgive them, you'll never forget them. And it's a non-negotiable that we've held for almost 8 years now. And
that's a good one.
My husband has never yelled at me, and I've never yelled at him. It's just, and it's a point of pride. It's a point of pride in my relationship. It is something that I know for a fact is being modeled to my children and my daughter and my boys. And I mean, when I had that moment while I was going through and like prepping, I was like, dang, girl, you're doing it. You've been doing it. And so while we're on these journeys and reflecting on the past, and I know we say don't get too caught up in looking back and things, sometimes it's a good thing, because I had an aha moment where I was like, okay, I do this.
I think it depends on how you're looking at the past. Like, if you're looking back at it as like a sense of like, wow, look at how far we've come, or like in a positive mindset versus like lingering on what you did wrong in the past, or it's always about how the perception of it. But no, those are really good ones. And again, I feel like, what were we talking about? We were talking about habits, I think, or like, should I have this cup of coffee in the morning? And, it was intention. And you're like, oh, how should I parent my kids? It's just, I feel like mine are so, I'm like, I have to make my bed in the morning. That is a non-negotiable. I have to make my bed, or I feel like my day is just a disarray. I have to, especially because I work from home and I'm constantly seeing it all day. I can't walk. I would constantly feel frazzled, and like making sure that I wash my face every morning and every night, and like taking care of my body. You only get one. And so just different things like that are my non-negotiables. And I would have to really sit and self-reflect to see, there are so many that you have that you don't even realize. But just go back and if you aren't sure, try going a day without doing it and see if it drives you absolutely bonkers. And if it does, that's a non-negotiable.
Yep, that's it. I think I could speak to your non-negotiables a bit. I mean, one of mine that I would identify for you is just your kindness. Your kindness, thanks. And your goodness. No, and I mean that, it's, and I would say the same about myself, and I'm not ashamed of that, because it is something, it's something to be proud of, is that I choose kindness first. That is a non-negotiable for me. It can be just like all of the other things we've discussed. It can be as big as being kind, and it can be as small as making my bed. And honestly,
floss.
Please.
I'm trying to be a good accountability partner, man. I'm trying. I feel so annoying. I text Steph at like 9:00 at night every night. I'm like, yo, girl, floss.
Flossing is a non-negotiable.
But it's good to, whenever you are creating like these new habits and setting these goals, is like maybe come up with one small non-negotiable for them. And that's what you add in to start. And then you just start building from there. Just find one little small thing. Could be like Steph was saying with the habit stacking with going to the gym, putting on your workout clothes. And that is that I have to do that, because that'll at least get me ready to move my body. So just start thinking of a few different things. If you have questions, or if you want some feedback, kind of brainstorm sessions, you know the drill. Yep. Just do it.
Yep, that's it. We got to hear it. We want to know. And I think that in in establishing those non-negotiables for yourself, or just identifying them, because you all have them without question. You have things that, you know, they are those core things that you just, you refuse to compromise on. If it's taking care of the totality of you, it's taking care of your body, it's taking care of your mind, you know, your spirit, your soul. It's the things that when you don't hit that non-negotiable, that ick feeling that you get, there's a reason for that. That ick feeling comes because you're, for me, I breaking a promise to myself, you know, or lying to myself, you know, or, you know, telling myself you're going to do this and then not doing it. It just makes you feel, I don't know, like a fake and a phony, for me personally.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think one that I'm trying to add in is like getting up and actually getting ready for the day each day, because that makes me feel better. It makes me feel more productive. It makes me feel ready to take on the day. And it's really, the non-negotiables are just kind of the standard for your day. Just kind of view them as that. It's the, I don't want to say it's the bare minimum, but it's all that you need to do to be able to get through the day and feel proud of what you did, because you did at least what you need to take care of you. Everything else is an added on victory.
That's it. Just an added bonus. Yep. Absolutely.
Exactly. And something we had in our notes that we were thinking about and talking about, and sorry, Ma, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it before this episode recording, even though I talked to you 15 times. I know she's listening. She's our number one fan. But
absolutely.
I don't know if this is something that is like a new concept that's really becoming popular, is setting boundaries and non-negotiables. And I know that we've talked about mental health and just more awareness around these things. I'm just curious if that's something that people were intentional with before our generation, or if they were and it just wasn't talked about, or if they weren't, they did what they needed to do to get through the day, to get through their jobs, to raise their families, and they didn't think about these ideas or concepts. I'm genuinely curious. I'm not sure if that is something that was touched on and or really discussed. So listeners, please let us know if it was, or if this is like a new thing that you're really just kind of stumbling upon and fingers crossed enjoying and learning about.
Right.
But that's something that I wanted to ask. So definitely share with us what your thoughts are on that.
You know, it's kind of interesting because I was thinking about it, and I didn't really speak to the elders in my life about how their generation kind of differs from our generation in that respect. But when I think back growing up, and this is just my experience, the women in my life, like they weren't great at setting boundaries, and I saw that because I watched them overextend themselves time and time again, trying to people please. Maybe that's what it is. I don't want to you know, put that label on them, you know, if they don't.
But like I was saying, like, it's the stigma that we're supposed to take care of others and put them before ourselves and make sure that they're okay, whether it be your friends, family, community. And that's kind of what I was saying. I think it was episode 1 where it's like changing the mindset of making sure that we're okay. And I think you phrased it beautifully, of making sure we stay happy through it and healthy through it. And that's what I mean. I don't know if it's a new concept or just something that's really gaining popularity, or I don't know. Fill us in, listeners. What do you think about that? Because I agree. I did see a lot of overextending. I think that's a good way to put it. Of giving more than what you had at the time.
Absolutely. And it was never a thing of like, it was always coming from a place of love. Always.
Oh, 100%.
At least, you know, like I want to make sure that everybody has what they need. And I want to make sure that this, you know, event goes perfectly, because it's going to be such an amazing memory. And don't get me wrong, I have absolute memories of how great things were. I just know that, you know, maybe, you know, my mom, my grandma, my aunts, you know, were behind the scenes running themselves ragged, trying to make sure that everything was good to go for everyone else. And I just don't know. I just don't know because I didn't see it. Maybe I was too young, that I just don't know that they were checking on themselves the same way that we check on ourselves. And it comes back to the thing that I have told you time and time again. And now we use it all the time, especially when we do start to catch each other kind of overextending, in certain places. You got to secure your own oxygen mask first.
Yes.
You have to. You got to make sure that your oxygen mask is secured first, because if not, that's the first thing that they tell you on a plane when in case of emergency or something is happening. Well, it happens when life gets turbulent. Just for example, the holidays. I know we just had discussed all of that.
Bless.
That there's just big life events. You got weddings and graduations and birthday parties and all of the things that we're constantly thinking about, let alone working full time and just all of the many things that all of us have to juggle day to day. If you're constantly, and I love the way that you put it, just pouring into other people and pouring and pouring and pouring, but you're not checking on yourself or, falling outside of the things that you have set as non-negotiables, you just wonder why you're not feeling fulfilled at the end of the day, why, how you could be at what is supposed to be an amazing, memorable event and all you feel is resentment in your heart because you didn't take a moment to breathe. And I think that was a big win for me this weekend, is that I prepped for Miss
present.
I was present the whole time. And guess what? Everything got done. And it may not have been Pinterest worthy in all aspects or the most perfectly aesthetic 6th birthday party ever. But my girl had an amazing day. My family had an amazing day. And it may sound selfish, but to my moms out there, or my aunties out there, or, the dads out there, the people who are in charge of getting it all set up and everything, when you're happy and good, it's a ripple effect. It ripples. Like my eldest, he may not have wanted to be at his little sister's 6th birthday party roller skating. Maybe that wasn't his cup of tea, but because I was stoked about it and OG was stoked about it, it just rippled to everybody else, and we had a great day. And it was because I made sure that I got my time in exercising. I made sure that I ate breakfast that morning so I wasn't a hangry monster.
That's just another non-negotiable I'm trying to add in.
It's important. It's so important, especially in, diet, skinny culture. And that's a whole nother animal for a whole nother day. But,
it's also true because we just get up and go. It's just one thing after another right out the gate some mornings, and you forget breakfast, and then it's 1:00 in the afternoon and you're like, why do I feel weird?
Right.
I think I texted you that exact statement. I was like, oh, this is because I didn't eat anything yet today.
Right.
But
did you forget to feed Harley? Did you forget to feed Doc?
Nope. Sure didn't, and they wouldn't let me. They would not let me forget to feed them.
But it just goes to show you.
It's true. And the reason that I made that face when you said I'm speaking to the moms and dads out there is because literally I had in my head ready to say, like, I want to speak to the moms and dads out there real quick about that oxygen mask statement. Is they will tell you on flights, secure your oxygen mask even before you secure it for your child. And I really want to point that out for a second because I know that I don't have kids right now. But to you moms and dads out there, is you have to take care of yourself in order to best take care of your kid. And I don't want that to sound like I'm telling you how to do your job, but I just, from what I have seen, is those that do put into themselves and take care of themselves and remember who they are and what makes them happy. Like Steph said, it bleeds down into the kids. They see that, they absorb all of that, and you can do that job even better than you could if you were running yourself ragged, which some days you're just going to do that. There's no avoiding it. But
absolutely.
I wanted to point that out, is that they do say you gotta do that first in order to put it on for them and take care of them. So don't feel guilty about that. I think that was another point that I thought of from what you were saying, is seeing the women and adult in your lives, because the men too, but they just, you see it differently with them, is just constantly going and doing and trying to provide for their families and all of the things. Is I saw it as a kid as they are so selfless. That is how I perceived it. And you said it great, of it's all from a place of love. Like there was
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it aside from the fact that I wish you would have been pouring that much into yourself as well. But that's a whole other thing. It's just, it seems so selfless. And that's exactly what I wanted to be growing up, was to be perceived that way as well. And then the
Mhm.
older I got, the more I realized it's good to have a little bit of selfishness in your life too, because that's exactly what boundaries are, is
Yes.
selfishness, but that's positive. I think it's viewed as such a negative thing, and it can be if you don't find that balance, but
Right.
being able to stand up for yourself and almost, sorry, I forgot that I read this a long time ago, and this speaks volumes to me, is like boundaries are advocating for yourself. And
Mm.
that is something that I really, really, it resonated with me as a people pleaser and a helper. Is it's just me standing up and advocating for myself, that this is what I need right now in order to best take care of myself, so that in turn I can then hopefully take care of you at some point in life.
Right.
But
Well,
that
and
is, it's all I got.
it's the same thing as like as we mentioned the golden rule. Like why
Mhm.
do we apply that to everyone else, but we don't apply it to ourselves first? It's the same exact thing as setting that boundary. You'll be the first one to be like, dump him. He's no good, or cut that relationship, or something along those lines. But it's hard to do it when it's for you, and
It is.
it's okay. I saw
Yeah.
another thing the other day about people pleasing, and it did change like my perspective on it a little bit. I can't remember exactly what she said, but
Was it
basically
Kiki?
it wasn't Kiki. It wasn't Kiki. I think it may have been an influencer or something along those lines. And she was it was a little like harsh, but I think sometimes like tough love, if it's coming from a place of love, can still be like love, and it may not be like glitz and glamour and like rainbows and sunshine, but it was basically like, if you call yourself a people pleaser, you basically say like you just let people just be, or like she may have said let people walk all over you, and I don't necessarily love that. I feel like
Yeah.
but that could just
Again,
be
without the
me.
balance, it could lead to that.
Yeah.
I've had my moments, like I'm going to be completely honest. I have had my moments where people have walked all over me and I didn't even really recognize it, because I was just so happy that they were doing what they needed to do. And just,
Yeah.
it sometimes takes an outside perspective to say like, it's okay for you to say that you don't want that to happen. And
Right.
just,
Right.
so it definitely takes some time to start seeing those moments and
No.
maybe saying like, let's take a step back. Let's not maybe do this a little differently next time. Or
Set that
and
boundary a little bit earlier.
and those conversations are hard. They're very, very hard, but they get easier and you will adjust. I think something that I read, I don't know, years ago, where it talks about like change and it has to be uncomfortable. Like your tires on the road, if there's no friction, you're not going to go anywhere. And so you have to have that friction with change and feel that discomfort for it to actually take hold. So feeling that discomfort when setting these boundaries is, you're going to feel it, and that's okay. I just wanted that to be known right out the gate, so you know and you're prepared for it. Is it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay.
I feel like everything we've talked about to this point is going to make like listeners, like it is uncomfortable, everything that we've talked about so far, but I just feel like that's like the best things in life are. They shouldn't come super easy. Something should, not everything. But it's funny that you mentioned something about the road, because I have a quote that I saw. Your non-negotiables are the guardrails that keep your life on track. The stronger they are, the less likely you are to crash. And I like that. I like that one a lot. It's the things that keep you moving forward. It's what's that Meet the Robinsons, the Disney movie, keep moving forward. No,
I don't know that one. I think I've seen it once, but I am wearing my Disney sweatshirt today. So
it's just that's the whole point. No matter what season of life you're in, no matter highs, lows, anything, you can't go backwards. You can't.
Yeah.
It's literally not possible. They haven't figured it out yet. I'm sure Elon Musk will at some point or another figure out how to time travel. But for right now, you just got to keep moving forward. And when you have your non-negotiables and you've set those boundaries when necessary, when you feel like somebody's in the car with you and they're trying to pull the steering wheel or something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know, they're there. You put them in place to keep you on track and to keep, you know, to keep you from crashing
100%.
out.
100%. Hopefully you guys got something from this.
Yeah.
I know that there was a few little segues. We tried to provide some examples. We even had our first guest of Kiki Palmer, the one and only, join this video today.
I'm going to figure out a better way to do that. I know for a fact that there is.
Guys, we are trying our darndest. We are going to have some hiccups. I think that there were definitely some tech hiccups in episode 3, so thank you for bearing with us and continuing to watch this one. You know the drill. The ending of the episode. What are we loving right now?
Oh, I really like, I kind of like dug around. I'm loving the response to the podcast. I am loving the interaction. I am just loving feeling like I am accomplishing something I was terrified to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so exciting. I just can't say thank you enough. And I'm loving that the sun is shining and that it might be getting warmer. And I feel like the seasonal depression just rising out of my body. Just very, very thankful. I feel like all of the warm and fuzzies. And
Yeah.
I never want this feeling to go away. And I know it will ebb and it will flow just like everything else in life does. But
as soon as that holiday season rolls back around, it's the happiest time of the year.
We're just going to pretend. We're just like, I don't see that. You don't exist to me yet. All right. What are you loving right now, Halls?
So what I am loving right now is truly that big man put this on our heart to really take the leap and do it. And you guys have been nothing but supportive. And I just can't thank you enough for that. Just honestly, my community. Just like I said last episode, there have been some hard times already in 2025. But my community shows up for the good, the bad, and I just thank you guys so much for the endless support. Just wow, I really feel today, but also, you know, like chicken wings and pimple patches. I'm really thankful for those.
There she is. There she is.
We love you, listeners. Thank you so much for being here.
Love you, listeners. We'll see you next week. 2 weeks.
There are millions of fonts in the world, and new ones are constantly being developed. If you happen to be one of those millions out there that speak our language and are still developing, just like we are, stick with us.
We want to thank you for spending your time with us today, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of Same Language, Different Font. Love you, listeners.